day, good day, good day, good day, good day, good day. I pray that you are doing extremely well wherever you are, where I'm meeting you from. Now, look, guys, let's just literally start with this, right? Let's just have the admin and the common courtesy all out of the way as we get started today. Where are you joining me from? Let me know, let me know, let me know. Wherever you're tuning in, guys, let me know where you're joining me from. Are you in the UK? Are you in the US of A? And actually, I should actually have a map that accommodates those in the US of A, especially considering the time it is right now. We'll probably have more people from the USA on this session right now. So as a result, let me even take off this Europe map. Let's get all the way global. Let me know in the chat where you're joining us from. Wherever you're joining from in the world, where are you joining us from? Because in today's session, I'm going to be talking to you guys about catastrophe versus cash. And the interesting thing about what I am going to be sharing, and more importantly, why I'm going to be sharing it, is because so many people are attempting to get some cash and they end up going through catastrophe. And I just thought to myself, you know what? As I was working with some of my students recently, I thought it only made sense to jump online, add value to the community, and help you guys sift through and decipher through some of these specific situations. So guys, let me know wherever you're joining me from, whichever platform you're on. Let me know where you are joining from. Are you in the UK? Are you in the US of A? Are you in Australasia? Are you in Asia? Are you in Japan? Are you in Taiwan? Are you in China? Let me know where you are tuning in from. Now, as you guys do that, what I'm going to do very quickly is I won't roll the dice, but I'll bring the dice on for you guys to share with me what you guys want us to do in this session, how you want us to get through this session. So guys, should we roll the dice in order to discuss today's session, or should I just jump in and share with you guys what I have in store? Should we do a read where I'm literally going to read to you guys from the Cashflow Quick Start, one of my books, or should we do something different? Instead of read, should we look into the Q&A where I can answer questions for you guys and literally share with you guys how to move further faster in your future as it pertains to the stuff we're going to be talking about in this session? Or should we have a story time? Should I draw? You guys let me know. All right, you guys let me know. You guys let me know. You guys let me know. And if you guys don't let me know too quick, and if we don't have a call to spin the die or dice, I can't even remember, even as an ex-maths teacher, which one it should be accurately, the die or the dice. What I will do, guys, is I will literally just pick for myself. And I'm feeling in a story mood today, so I'll probably tell you guys a story in all honesty. But we don't know. Let's see what you guys are going to say. Now, without further ado, should I take the risk? Let's do it. I'm gonna roll the dice and let's see what we end up with. So the dice is getting rolled, and today is draw. All right, cool. I will be drawing in order to share with you guys the concepts for today's session. But guys, look, just so you know, I am not a Picasso. I'm not signing up to say I'm a Picasso. I'm Samuel I Can Win, so I'm gonna do the best I can with regards to the time, opportunity, and skill set allotted to me as it pertains to drawing. So guys, if you're excited about that, if you're looking forward to seeing me draw in today's session, just throw the word draw inside of the chat. Now, without further ado, let's jump into today's session. I'm going to start by asking you guys a question. I might even ask a couple of questions, because I think the more questions to get you guys kind of ready and excited, ready and inspired in terms of what I'm going to be talking about, the more helpful it's going to be for you. But here's the first question, right? How many of you guys have ever attempted to go for a pay rise or a new venture in work? If you're a business owner like myself, you've gone to give yourself a pay rise, all right? I remember years ago hearing Russell Brunson say every time he goes into his office, his thought process is, how can I improve this funnel by 2% or 1%? How can I literally give myself a 20% pay rise, right? Because a 1% change in certain areas can produce a multiple percent gain in other areas, right? So how many of you guys have ever been in that predicament before? If you have, just write I have in the chat so I know who we've got in the house today, all right? Have you ever been in a situation where you've said to yourself, you know what, I'm gonna go for this pay rise, or you know what, I would like to get a pay rise, or you know what, I'm going to do this new endeavor in business in order to make things better for me and my family and my lineage, etc. Right? So if that's you, just write I would. Now, here's a second question to go and marry that first question. How many of those times when you've attempted to do that have you found that the proverbial, as they say, all hell feels to break loose, right? How many of you have found that when you've attempted to make that big dash, make that big leap into the next phase or the next stage of your life, you found that things just become chaotic and, as I've said in the title of this video, catastrophic. You just feel like, you know what, everything just became so chaotic the moment I attempted to do this. I don't know why I had catastrophe when all I was attempting to do was generate more cash. If that's you, just write me in the chat. Now, in this video, what I want to do is first and foremost congratulate you guys on this live. What I want to do is first and foremost congratulate you guys for being in this session, because you are in the right place to learn and understand exactly why that happens. But more importantly, you're also in the right place to see, probably for the first time, why that may have occurred for you. Now, we rolled the dice and it landed on draw. So as a result, I'm going to have to draw. So let me get the drawing pad out as we start today's session. Now, if you're someone who answered the question with an I would, Samuel, that's me. I've been in that situation, or I've been in that situation where I've been attempting to achieve more, be more, become more. And you're also someone who said yes to the second question, or you said me to that second question. Samuel, that's me. I've been someone who, when I've attempted to do more, be more, have more, I've ended up in a predicament where basically all catastrophe has broken loose. If that's you, then in this actual session, what's going to happen is I'm going to be unlocking and unpacking exactly why those kind of things happen to people like you, all right? And I'll say people like me as well, because it happens to all of us. But the reality is the question why? Like, why does it happen to all of us? And to start with, I'm going to share with you a very simple story, okay? Back in Genesis chapter 1, we see something super interesting in Genesis chapter 1. We see in the beginning, this is chapter 1, verse 1, right at the beginning, all right? In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And then the next verse says, and the earth was void. It was without form and void. And the thing that's interesting is many people will hear that but don't actually understand what that means. And if you dig into the Hebrew, you start to realize a glimpse of what that means. So the word says, and the earth was void. All right? But the interesting thing is when you dig into the Hebrew, the language actually states that the world, the earth, became void. Okay? So that's an interesting thing. Like, hold on a minute. God starts creating the earth, the heavens and the earth. And then the next verse says that things became void. Like, the actual Hebrew is tohu vabohu. Okay? And that literally means it started to become unorganized. And the thing that's deep about that is sometimes if you liken that to your own life, you might find that, you know what, Samuel, there was a time I was attempting to do something, and literally straight after I started attempting to do something, the things became unorganized. They became challenging. They became catastrophic. They became chaotic. Now, one of the things I often say to my coaching clients in order for them to help have a good, strong, deep understanding of this is chaos follows creation. Okay? Chaos follows creation. I take that from Genesis chapter 1. Chaos follows creation. So for those of you who are with me tonight and you're taking notes, that's the first note you should probably write down if you haven't written anything down already. Chaos follows creation. What does that mean? That means whenever you have an intention to create something, you should also have an expectation for chaos to try and delay something. And all you need to do in order to get through is work exactly through what I'm going to be sharing with you. All right? So hopefully this is going to help you guys throughout today's session. Now, what I'd love for you guys to do to help us get started and also to bring a lot of context into today's session is possibly share in the chat one of the things you've been through in life where you've had an attempt, you've said, you know what, I'm going to do this, and it's ended up being negative, where you've had a desire saying, you know what, I want to become more, and it's ended up being chaotic. All right, so throw in the chat any example, right? It doesn't have to be anything complex. It can be literally something simple. If for those of you who are like me, if you're thinking of something more complex, feel free to throw in something complex, right? But just throw in some examples of situations you've been in where you've said to yourself, you know what, I wanted this to turn out well, but it ended up feeling like it began to swell. Okay, so you just think of any situation and throw it in the chat. And the reason this will be helpful is because then it will allow me to use your actual situations, your actual context to help you guys understand how these things happen, and not only how they happen, but how they can be shifted, how they can be changed, how they can be realigned and reassigned in order to work in your favor instead of against you. Okay, because there's a lot of people having things and situations in their life which are working against them instead of working for them. All right, and I'm going to jump in by starting by sharing one of my situations. All right, so I'm going to share with you about the first time I wanted to buy a house. Okay, because I think this is a really good example to help you guys get a feeling. Let me get the drawing pad all ready in that. But yeah, this is a good example to help you guys get a feeling of where I've gone through something similar to this. All right. So the first time I bought a property, I say property because it was an apartment. Okay. And for those of you who've never been on a training with me before, when I draw any property, the amount of windows I draw symbolizes the amount of bedrooms the property had, right? So you guys can let me know in the chat how many bedrooms this property has, right? So the first time I was attempted to buy a property, I had a very interesting situation, okay? It was 2015, 2016. I was on a 12-month property training program. I'd invested £20,000 to be on that program. And they were teaching us all this ninja stuff about how you can invest in property using little or none of your own money. And because I was learning all of this stuff for the first time, like I had some hang-ups about taking the steps and doing the stuff. Now, the thing that was interesting is I was already active in the property field, because about 10 years, 11 years before that, I worked as an estate agent. And then fast forward to that year, 2015, I had already built a property sourcing business as a sole trader. I was already selling deals to other people. So 2015 was my epiphany. Like, look, Samuel, don't just sell these opportunities to other people. Why don't you start building your own portfolio? Why don't you start raising funds? Why don't you start acquiring these assets yourself? So in 2015-16, I had an interest in acquiring my first asset, right? Someone write in the comments, first asset, right? Because everybody should start building up their portfolio of assets, in my opinion, okay? So as I have this interest to get my first asset, something very interesting happens, right? The property I'm living in at the time is a council property. This council property is offering a incentive for me to purchase the property. Now, this incentive is no longer available, but they were offering it at this time. So I'm like, okay, cool. I want to get this incentive. And I remember this was around August, November in that year. And the reason I remember it's August, November is because we were coming up to December, which is ultimately the Christmas holiday, etc. So we learned through this course some stuff to do. I decided I was going to put it through. I'm going to acquire this property using this incentive, right? And then straight after I decided I'm going to use this incentive to get this property, we ended up in the month of December. Now, the interesting thing about the month of December is most people close, like everything closes down through the Christmas holiday. And that is no different to council. So what happened is the local borough, the authority which I was going to be buying the property through, they closed that month of December, coming to the end of it because of the Christmas holidays. Now, what was super interesting is I had a very, very good friend. And I can say he's a very good friend because of how much this one thing he said to me, even though we were friends before, but how much this one thing he said to me at this juncture in my life literally changed the game for me, okay? And this very, very good friend, his name is Roger. Okay, I'm going to write Roger's name on here, all right? And interestingly enough, and I'll say this because I think this will be helpful for everyone, I met Roger at an event, okay? Now, the reason I'm saying that is because some of you guys do not know that your next destiny helper is going to be met at an event. Some of you guys don't know that your next destiny helper is going to be met on a live. Some of us think the only friends we can have, the only friends we should have, the only friends we could have are friends we made when we were children in school, okay? And I'm here to tell you, don't have that short-sighted of a mentality. Now, you might be thinking, Samuel, why would you say that? I'm going to tell you why I said that. When I was very, very young, my dad used to tell me when I was in primary school, he used to say, don't think when you get to secondary school, all your friends from primary school are coming with you to your secondary school. And I used to think, what does this man know? What's he talking about, right? But then I get to secondary school. When I got to secondary school, I realized the overwhelming majority of friends I had in primary school did not come even to the same secondary school, let alone come with me to the secondary school. Now, I remember 2 or 3 friends, I'd call them friends, from primary school that came to my secondary school, okay? But my dad's story didn't end there. My dad would then say, don't think when you get to college, that your friends from secondary school will be coming with you to college, okay? And again, I would think, come on, like my dad doesn't know the future. How does he know? Like, why is he saying this? But lo and behold, and those of you in the chat, you'll know this as well. You've experienced this as well. When you get to college, your friends from secondary school don't necessarily come with you to college. So I experienced that. I witnessed that, and it was kind of like weird for me. Like, wow, like my dad was 100% spot on and right. But he went deeper. My dad would then say, and don't think when you get to university that your friends from primary school or your friends from college or your friends from university are going to be going with you to university. And lo and behold, he was 100% unequivocally correct. When I got to university, I did not have one friend from primary school, from secondary school, from college who came with me to university. Now, your story might be different. You might be someone who's got friends from primary school, from secondary school, from college, from university who came with you all the way to your postgrad. You might have that story. I don't have that story, okay? And if you've got that story, just write in the comments, I have. If you don't have that story, just write in the comments, I don't, right? But I don't have that story. And as a result of not having that story, guess what? My dad was 100% right. He was correct. Like, your friends from primary school don't come to college. Your friends from college don't come to, excuse me, your friends from primary school don't come to secondary school. Your friends from secondary school don't come to college. And your friends from college don't come to university, right? So I experienced that. So I just say that to say to you guys, you may, you could, you should meet destiny helpers in all walks of your life. Don't be so close-minded like the people who the last time they read a book was when they were in school. Don't be so close-minded that you expect the last time you were to make a friend or supposed to make a friend was all the time when you was in primary school. All right. Hopefully this is clear. Now, why do I say all that? Because I met Roger at an event. Okay, the event was a futurist event. It was an event for people who want to discover and want to decipher and want to learn about the future. Okay, now if there's anyone who's ever met somebody at an event, just write in the comments. I have, so I know that I'm not alone. So that's where I met Roger. Now, it was coming to December of 2015. I'm attempting to buy this property. This is a 1-bedroom property. And again, for those of you who've never been on a live, never been on a training with me, whenever I draw anything, the number of windows symbolizes the number of bedrooms. So I'm about to buy this 1-bedroom flat. I'm taking advantage of a incentive that the government are using. And because I'm taking an advantage of this incentive, in my mind, I'm like, okay, cool, I've got to get my application in. So you have to apply to use this incentive. So I know I've got to get my application in. Now, the craziest thing happens, okay? It gets to December, probably about the 16th, 17th. The local authority are closing, so they're not open anymore. And I still have to get my application in, but they're closed. And I'm having a conversation with Roger, who I met at an event about a year or 2 years, 2 or 3 years before this is happening in 2015, excuse me. And I'm speaking to Roger on the phone, and I'm saying to Roger, like, this is my situation. I'm about to buy this property. It's a 1-bedroom flat. There's an incentive available, blah, blah, blah. And he says to me, okay, cool. So when are you going to get your application in? And I said, I'll probably drop it in on the 3rd of January when the year starts, because then it will get into the office, the local authority office, like on the first day back, right? And I was kind of like super excited. Like, I'm going to be super honest, guys. I was like, proper like, yes, I'm doing the right thing. Like, I'm going to get it in on the 3rd, right? And Roger says to me in this super, super casual voice, Roger says to me in this super, super empathetic voice, like my hands on my heart, because I literally felt the empathy so deeply then 20 years ago that I feel like I feel it now, or 10 years ago, excuse me, like I feel like I feel it now. 2015, December, on the phone to Roger, and Roger says to me something profound. Roger says to me something powerful. He says, Samuel, get your application in now. Someone write in the comments, now. Roger says to me, Samuel, get your application in now, in a really endearing, heartfelt manner. And in my head, I thought, now? Why now? That's the first thing that came to my mind. Like, why now? I was going to put the application in on the 3rd of January when everything opened back up. Why should I put the application in now on the 17th of December whilst everybody's closed? And I said to Roger, because I'm that kind of person, I try to be transparent. And I said to Roger, I don't understand. Why should I do it now? And Roger said something to me that really changed my life. In 2015, in December, when Roger advised me to get my application in now, he said something to me that has changed my life since 2015 all the way till today. He said to me, Samuel, if you get it in now, yours will be at the top of a pile which they will have as their backlog. He said, if you wait till the 3rd of January, yours will be at the bottom of a pile which they are going to receive as a backlog. And guys, look, the story's done, right? Because I bought that house a number of years ago and we got the incentive. But the reason I'm telling you the story is because Roger was right. Roger was 100% unequivocally, just like my dad, he was absolutely right. He was right that me waiting until the third wouldn't have helped me. He was right in telling me, Samuel, do it now. I see you in the chat, Dwayne. Dwayne says now. You see, the thing that's powerful is so many times in life we let things wait till tomorrow. And I'm going to tell you why. Because we enjoy the catastrophe instead of priming our minds to be ready for the cash. Okay? And guys, I'm using the word cash, but you don't have to use cash. Because what I'm talking about is deeper than money. You see, what I'm talking about transcends spirituality. It transcends soulish levels. It transcends physicality, right? What I'm talking about is when you are desiring to have some level of creation, when you are desiring to have some level of manifestation, when you are desiring to have something tangible show up and blow up in your life, the first thing that is going to come is chaos, because chaos follows creation. The first thing that's going to come is catastrophe, because catastrophe precedes cash. But the reality is this: if you understand why it works like that, just like what I shared with you guys earlier, Genesis chapter 1, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth became null and void. It became tohu vabohu in the Hebrew. It became without form. If you understand that, guess what happens? Everything changes for you. Because you start having a mindset and a framework and an understanding of why these things happen. And more importantly, you start being able to build and develop yourself in a way where you can combat the catastrophe. And if you can combat the catastrophe, let me assure you something, my friend, you can always have the cash. Let me say that again. If you know how to navigate the chaos, which always precedes the creation, guess what, my friend? You will always have the cash. If you're excited about that, just literally write the word me in the chat. If you're someone who's watching this, you're tuned into this, even if it's on a replay, use the comments. If you are excited about the fact that you get to know that if you can navigate the catastrophe, you get the cash. If you can navigate the chaos, you get the creation. If you are excited about that, literally throw the word me in the chat. Now, how does this all work? That should be a question you're asking yourself. It's a question I started asking myself a number of years ago, similar to this time where Roger said to me in December 17th, Samuel, don't wait for the government incentive. Don't wait till January the 3rd. Don't be the person who puts in your application and your application is the bottom of the pile. Instead, put the application in now whilst you don't think you have to do it. Put the application in now whilst most people aren't doing it. Put the application in now whilst most people are thinking, I'll just wait till January 3rd. Be the person who acts like you've heard and get your application in now. And the funniest thing is, like I've since learned since then, the Bible literally teaches what I call the first mover's advantage, what you'll hear many coaches and teachers call the first mover's advantage. But I didn't know that that is what Roger was advising me to do all of that time back then. In December the 17th of 2015, when I was attempting to buy my first ever property, Roger was telling me, Samuel, activate first mover's advantage. Do it now. And I'm so grateful. I'm so glad. I'm so literally ecstatic that I took his advice, because that allowed me to buy my first ever property, and it wouldn't have happened if I didn't take Roger's advice. So shout out to Roger. And guys, whoever your Roger is, like, shout out to them as well, because 10 years later, I'm talking about my first property purchase because of a friend named Roger who said, Samuel, do it now. Right? And there's so many other people I need to shout out. I shout out to my dad for setting me up in that regard, and so many other people. Guys, to all of you guys who played part in my property journey at any point, shout out to you, right? My love to you. Now, let's jump into business. So today what I want to talk to you guys about is how to navigate the catastrophe in order for you to have the cash. How to navigate the chaos in order for you to have the creation. I shared with you Genesis chapter 1, and I articulated and explained to you already why a lot of this stuff happens. It happens because this is how things were set up. Okay, this is how things were set up. So I want you to understand, you cannot, like, I'll share it the way Jim Rohn taught me, right? So Jim Rohn, business philosopher, amazing speaker. And if you haven't heard of Jim Rohn, Jim, R-O-H-N, okay, R for Romeo, O for Oscar, H for Hotel, N for November. go and find out about Jim Rohn. Okay, go and watch some of his content. Okay, it's online. He's passed away now. He's late. But Jim Rohn was a game changer, right? And one of the things Jim Rohn would say, he would say, don't wish it was easier. Don't wish life was easier. Wish you were better. And he used to give this analogy, and this analogy was super powerful. And every time I used to hear it, I used to think to myself, Jim knows his stuff, right? So this is what Jim would say. Jim would say, listen, stop blaming the soil. Stop blaming the seed. Stop blaming the sun. You see, if you've got seeds in your hand, the only thing you should be focused on is planting the seeds. If you got seeds in your hand, the only thing you should be focused on is watering your seeds, right? The Bible says it even better. It says one plants, another waters, but God brings the increase. Stop blaming God for not bringing the increase. Blame yourself for not planting more. Blame yourself for not watering more, right? So again, going back to what Jim would say, Jim Rohn would say, stop blaming the sun, stop blaming the seed, stop blaming the soil, right? Don't wish it was better. Don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Now, you might be thinking, Samuel, why are you going down this path? I'm going to tell you why. Because when there's catastrophe in life, what we have to understand is catastrophe can be navigated. Catastrophe can be circumvented in order for us to get the chaos, in order for us to get the cash. But catastrophe can't be circumvented if we are blaming the soil, if we are blaming the sand, if we are blaming the sun. And I've seen so many people do this. People jump on coaching programs and in the back of their mind, they're blaming the coach. People jump on coaching programs and in the back of their mind, they're blaming the content. People jump on new jobs and in the back of their mind, they're blaming the manager. Listen, guys. Don't blame things you can't change. Okay, someone needs to write that down. Just literally write it. I should not blame things I can't change. Why? Waste of energy. That's the only reason why. It's a waste of energy. If you're blaming something you can't change, guess what? It's not going to change, even if you blame it. But if you're working on something that can change, guess what? It can change just because you change it. And this is one of the reasons why we have to have this notional understanding. We have to have this basic understanding before we start working on navigating catastrophe or working our way through chaos. Because there's no point you working through chaos if you don't understand the underlying foundation that you can't stop any time through this process and start blaming the sun, start blaming the soil, start blaming the seed. That's not how life works. You have to plant the seed, not blame the seed, okay? You have to de-weed the seeds, not blame the seeds, okay? You have to maybe even clean the seeds, not blame the seeds. If someone understands what I'm talking about, just write in the comments, I do. So I know I'm talking to the right people today. Now that we're through that, okay? And now we understand that. And now we're seeing, okay, cool. This is how it works. I get it, Samuel. Like, basically, I don't blame what I've got because what I've got is all I've got. I don't blame the seed. I don't blame the soil. I don't blame the sun. What I do is I use it all so I can have fun. So let me show you how to start navigating catastrophe in order for you to have cash. Let me show you, if you're going through a season in your life where things feel hard, things feel difficult, you feel like you keep hitting barriers, you feel like you built your portfolio all that way to the tune of £4 million, but you're still only generating £3,000 a month. Or you're in that situation where you say to yourself, you know what, Samuel, I've got these 2 properties, but for some reason they're not generating me more than £600. And I always thought the moment I own a property, I'll be scot-free, I'll be clear. Guys, whatever your situation is, whatever your scenario is, however much pain you're feeling right now, please, 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 let me show you how to navigate through the catastrophe. Okay? So if you're ready, just throw the word ready in the chat as we jump through. Now, first thing you need to do, if you genuinely want to navigate, if you genuinely, in the deepest parts of your heart, you want to navigate the catastrophe, the first thing you need to do is clarify your vision. Okay? Now, you might be thinking, Samuel, where do you get this idea from? Like, why are you telling me I should clarify my vision? Well, the first reason why is because in Proverbs chapter 29, verse 18, okay? Proverbs 29, verse 18, it says, without a vision, the people perish. Now, let me tell you one of the places where people perish the most, in catastrophe, ladies and gentlemen. In the chaos, ladies and gentlemen. Like, one of the main places where people literally perish is in the midst of catastrophe. It's in the midst of chaos. Why do they perish in the midst of catastrophe? Why do they perish in the midst of chaos? Because that's where people are going to obviously perish. I want you to think about this. Where else do you think people perish? You think people perish in paradise? You think people perish where they're plugged to a life support machine? People don't perish in places where they're protected. People perish in places where there's no protection. Okay? Chaos is one of those places, guys. Catastrophe is one of those places, guys. And if you're in a situation where you're saying, Samuel, every single time I try to go for that leap of creation, every single time I try to go for that new level of cash, I keep experiencing catastrophe, I keep experiencing chaos, I'm here to tell you, you need to clarify your vision. Proverbs chapter 29, verse 18, without a vision, the people perish. Okay? If you look at the Hebrew and some of the other translations of that verse, Proverbs 29:18, it says, without a vision, the people cast off restraint. Now, restraint are practices, principles, and precepts. Restraint are laws that you use to navigate. So what is it saying? It's saying when you don't have a vision, you stop using practices. When you don't have a vision, you stop using principles. When you don't have a vision, you stop using precepts that are tried, tested, true, and work for me and work for you. When you don't have a vision. Guys, I want someone to write in the chat the word vision, because I want you to write that, not just to write the comment, but I want you to write that making a declaration. I'm going to clarify my vision. Let me tell you something. When you see better, you can be better. And when I'm talking about seeing, I'm not talking about seeing with your eyes, your natural eyes. I'm talking about sometimes seeing with your heart. I'm talking about sometimes seeing with your mind. I'm talking about sometimes seeing with your energy. You know, when you just wake up in the morning and you're like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. Now here's the question. What makes you ready to go, ready to go, ready to go? In the case I just described, it's your energy. You woke up that morning feeling the energy, feeling ready, feeling like, you know what, today is a different day. Today's not going to be like another day. Today's not going to be like the old day. It's not going to be like the old way. What gives you that? I'll tell you what gives you that. Your energy has a new vision. A new vision of expectation. What's going to come of today? A new vision of excitement. What's in front of me today? A new vision of enthusiasm. What you're looking forward to for your day. That's the kind of thing that gives you the energy to be ready to go. So I want to start there. Clarify your vision. Clarify your vision. Get to a place where you start saying to yourself, you know what? I'm going to see clearer now. Okay? Now, I'm going to share something with you guys. I think this will be helpful for you, right? You may not know this, okay? But I'm going to share this with you because I want you to see this, okay? In all of our lives, there is a tug of war going on, okay? And this tug of war is taking place between two entities. The tug of war is taking place between one entity called H and another entity called B. And the interesting thing about the tug of war between H and B is that B always wins. Someone write that in the chat. B always wins. Now you might be sitting there thinking, Samuel, B always wins, but who's B? I'm so glad you asked. The tug of war that you face, the tug of war that I face, the tug of war that every single one of us face, which is why we need to clarify our vision according to Proverbs 29:18, is the war, the battle, the beef between our history and our beliefs. What if I told you that every single day there is a battle taking place between your beliefs and your history? And most of the time, I'm going to tell you something, most of the time, let me tell you something, most of the time, if you're open to letting me tell you this thing, most of the time, your history wins. And the reason your history most of the time wins is because your beliefs are being pulled in the direction of your history. So here's a question. What would happen if your beliefs were no longer pulled by the direction of your history? What would happen if you understand my beliefs are always going to win, and because my beliefs are always going to win, I'm going to stop allowing my beliefs to be pulled in the direction of my history, and I'm going to recruit my history to be able to start working in tandem with my beliefs so I can start going towards my future. You see, what we have to do is clarify our vision. And it's not that hard, guys, to clarify your vision. It's not that hard to Habakkuk chapter 2, write the vision down, make it plain, so he who sees it can run with it, guys. Think about that. What is that saying? That's saying you get acceleration through visualization. Habakkuk chapter 2, write the vision down, make it plain, so he who sees it can run with it. What does that mean? It means we get acceleration through visualization. The clearer you get on your vision, the faster you can move towards your vision. If you're someone who in the battle between your history and your beliefs, you have your beliefs, you know, like I told you, your beliefs are always going to win, but you have your beliefs being swayed, you have your beliefs being pulled, you have your beliefs being hijacked by the memories of your history. I'm here to tell you something simple, but unfortunate. You can't develop your vision because your whole vision is going to perpetually and continually be a picture of your history. So the way you start clarifying your vision is you stop allowing, in the tug of war of your history and your beliefs to be swayed by your history. And you start recruiting your history to pay homage to your beliefs. You rewire the whole circuitry. And when you rewire the whole circuitry, let me tell you what's going to happen. Your beliefs are going to start pulling your history in its direction towards your future, instead of pulling your history in the direction back towards your history. And it's that simple. So let's go deeper. Okay, let's go deeper. Now that you understand that, let me share with you how to clarify your vision. Okay, because clarifying your vision is actually quite simple. Okay, there's 3 things you need to clarify your vision, and I'm going to share with you all of them right now. The first one is you need your imagination. Okay? You need your imagination. And I know some of you are going to be thinking, Samuel, like, I haven't used my imagination since I was in primary school. That's cool. But remember, B always wins. So what does that mean? Your beliefs are going to win in the battle between your beliefs and history. So if you know beliefs are going to win, guess what you're going to need to do? You're going to need to develop your beliefs to work for your future vision. How can your beliefs start working for your future vision? When you start using your imagination. Here's a great question you can ask yourself to start helping you use your imagination. What is it going to feel like when? Okay, what's it going to feel like when I get this outcome? What's it going to feel like when I do this for my family? What's it going to feel like when my spouse receives this value from me? What's it going to feel like when? Okay, if this is helpful, someone just write in the comments, this is helping me. Okay, what's it going to feel like when? A great question to ask to help you develop your imagination. Okay, so imagination is the first thing that you're going to need. Okay, now, why do you need your imagination? Because your imagination allows you to see things that are not there in a way that as if they are there. Okay, it allows you to see your future as though it is your future, even though if you keep doing what you're currently doing, it's not going to be your future. Okay, hopefully that helps someone. All right, so we start with our imagination. Now, after you start activating your imagination, you need to do something with the things you imagine. You need to start tackling what we call initiation. Okay, what's the initiation? The initiation is the things you've seen in your imagination. You start asking yourself, which of those things do I need to use to move forward? Okay, which of those things do I need to use to move forward? So a great question to ask yourself when you go through the process of imagination is, Jim Rohn used to talk about this in his goals workshop. What kind of person do I need to become in order to have X result? Okay, so I'm going to make this super simple for you. Okay, if you're someone like some of my clients, right? You've built a property portfolio over the last 20, 25 years. You've been buying these properties using equity. You've built let's say it's a £4 million portfolio. And from that £4 million portfolio, you're generating £3,000 a month. Let's say that's your situation right now, okay? If that's your story, you've got a £4 million portfolio and it's only generating you £3,000 a month, circa 36,000 to 48,000 a year. Okay, so I know these numbers so well because this is like the story of many of my property clients. Okay, if that's your situation and you start to activate imagination, you start figuring to yourself, okay, what's it? Remember the question I said, what's it gonna look like when I? Okay, so let's say a lot of my clients who are in that situation, their goal is to generate £15,000 per month in revenue. Okay, so they basically want to 5x their revenue, and I help them to do that very simply. Now, and it's interesting because when I say very simply, I think about what a lot of people think. Like, Samuel, how'd you do that simply if this person spent 20 years not being able to do it? Well, the reason why is because they've spent 20 years not being able to use their imagination. Okay, so that's part of why they're unable to do it. And again, guys, just super quickly, right? If you're interested in how you can learn to do that kind of stuff, go and get my book, right? Because my book will help you. That's the Cash Flow Kickstart. I believe it should be on the screen right now. Okay. Yes, it is. Okay. The Cash Flow Kickstart. You can see the subtitle, The Guide to Mastering Cash Flow and Achieving Financial Freedom. All right. Your guide to mastering cash flow and achieving financial freedom. So if you're someone who's saying, Samuel, you know what? I'm in that situation, right? And I need help. Go get that book right now. Okay. And if you need to know where to get the book from, just write I do in the chat or just write book in the chat, and then I'll share the link with you in a little while. All right. So the first thing is you have to activate your imagination. If you're someone in that situation, like some of my property clients who have built a portfolio, £4 million worth of property, generating £3,000 a month, 36,000 a year, at max 48,000 a year, and you're saying to yourself, I want a better situation. The first question, using your imagination, is what's it gonna feel like when? So when what? Well, for that person, if their goal is £15,000 in revenue, in cash flow a month, what's it gonna feel like when I'm finally generating £15,000 per month? Okay? Or what's it gonna feel like when I've started to generate £15,000 per month? Okay? Or what's it gonna feel like when I've got £15,000 a month and I can now, boom, all right? And you just add on the end, whatever you want to do on the end of that, right? Like take my family on holiday, enjoy my time with my spouse, spend more time with my grandchildren, whatever your end to that story is, okay? Now, why is it super powerful? It's super powerful because after you ask that question and tap into your imagination, what's it going to feel like when? The next thing you should do is then trigger initiation. So then you ask the question, what type of person do I need to be able to have that statement be a real true statement? Like, what's it going to feel like when I'm generating £15,000 per month? What kind of person do I need to become, right? Now, do you need to become a kind of person who understands the science behind cash flow? Okay, someone told me in the chat, right? Do you need to become the kind of person who understands the science behind cash flow to go from generating £3,000 per month when you've spent 20, 25 years building your portfolio to generating £15,000 a month without, in many cases of my clients, without even having to buy any new properties? Do you need to understand the science of cash flow? Now, I submit to you that the answer to that is yes, all right? So what do you need to initiate? Well, your initiation is going to be, I need to initiate a development process, a learning process, an acquisition process of the mastery of the cash flow creation science, right? I need to understand what is the science behind creating cash flow, okay? Then you can go to the next thing, all right, that you've imagined, whatever that is. What's it gonna feel like when I'm able to, whatever it is, right? And then you just ask the same question after that, okay? Okay, initiation. After imagination, initiation. How do I initiate? I initiate by saying to myself, what kind of person do I need to become in order to have the thing I've imagined? Okay? All right, now, we start with imagination, we transition into initiation. Now, after you initiate, okay, you need to do something else. But I'm gonna come back to this in a moment because I want to help you guys even deeper, right? So, we start with imagination, we trigger into initiation. Now, one of the things, and I just want to share this before I go into the third step of that, because I find a lot of people are good at the imagination stage. Some struggle with the initiation stage, but if you are good at imagination, struggle with initiation, you'll never get onto the third one, okay? So I'll come onto that in a moment. All right, cool. So if you get good at imagination and you are able to ask the key question that I've given you guys a moment ago to trigger your initiation, there is one thing that a lot of the time holds people back from the initiation, and that is procrastination. Okay? That's when you see what you want to be, but you don't do what it takes to be what you want to be. Okay? That's procrastination. Okay? And in the words of Eileen Wilder, one of the students that I was on Dr. Golden's inner circle with, Eileen would always say, procrastination will be the assassination of your destination. Okay? I hope I'm quoting her correctly, right? So I want you to think about that. Procrastination can be the assassination of your destination. So you can literally assassinate all the things you've put in your imagination if you activate procrastination. So this is why this is super key, and I just want to bring it up because I don't want you to be someone who taps into imagination and then you say, yeah, I'm going to go into initiation, but you can't do initiation because unfortunately, okay, you start activating procrastination. Okay? So let's jump back into this. So the first thing you want to do is clarify your vision. The best way to clarify your vision is start with imagination. After imagination, you go into initiation. Excuse me. Where you start to initiate the activities that you need in order to succeed in terms of the things you've imagined. But then there's one more. So we go from imagination to initiation to my favorite, indoctrination. Okay, now I know some of you, you've heard this word before and you're frightened of this word. Indoctrination, Samuel, what are you talking about? Like, is that hypnosis and all of that stuff? No, okay? Indoctrination. Doctrine is literally a biblical word, okay? It's a biblical word. Doctrine simply means teaching, okay? And indoctrination means the teaching that gets in, the teaching that goes in, the teaching from within. Okay, if someone understands what I'm talking about, just throw in the chat the word indoctrination. So I know you guys are getting this, okay? So we go from a place of imagination when we're clarifying our vision to a stage of initiation where we ask ourselves the question, who do I need to become in order to achieve the thing I've imagined? To the level of indoctrination. Now, what is indoctrination? Indoctrination is where we allow the answer to the question, who do I need to become, to get deeply seated within our hearts, to literally find a place within us. Because if it doesn't find a place within us, guess what? It's going to disappear next week. It's going to disappear next month. It's not going to become a part of who we are. It's not going to be part of how we see things, how we seek things, and how we literally say things, okay? And those of you who haven't heard me teach on that before, that's one of my formulas I've been talking about for years. If you want to develop who you are, if you want to work on your becoming, because a lot of people speak about and hear about the be, do, have model, but they don't ever figure out how to be, right? Well, the formula to be is to see it, say it, and seek it, okay? You have to see what you're attempting to be, then you have to say what you're attempting to be so that you can seek diligently what you're attempting to be. And as it says in Matthew chapter 7, verse 7, seek and ye shall, someone else can finish that in the chat. So this is exactly how it works, guys, right? You want to start by clarifying your vision. Now, this is super simple, and I'm literally just seeing the time right now, so I'm going to have to go super fast. But guys, this is what I want you guys to understand, okay? You clarify your vision to start. Proverbs 29 verse 18, it says, without a vision, the people perish. Where do people perish the most? People perish the most in places where they're not protected. What does that mean? That means I want to get out of the catastrophe, I want to get out of the chaos, and I want to get into the creation. How do I get into the creation? I have to first and foremost clarify my vision. How do I clarify my vision? I start through this simple process of imagination, initiation, and indoctrination. What is that process? That process is me asking myself, what's it going to feel like when? And I end that with the goal, the achievement, the desire I have. I then say to myself, who is the person I'm going to have to become? That allows me to see the skill set, tool set, and mindset I need to initiate to grasp the asset. And then I shift into the indoctrination. I let the answers to that question get deep into me. I let them become who I am through means of the see it, say it, seek it formula. Now, let me rub this off because I want to go into the second aspect after you clarify your vision, because clarifying your vision is just the first piece of a three-legged stool, and it's the second and third piece that really make it all. So let's jump into it. The second part is basically my favorite part, okay? Because after you clarify the vision, that just means you can see well, okay? And guys, again, if this is of value to you, if you guys are hearing this stuff and it's becoming, and it's of value to you, just write the word value in the chat. Let me know that this is of value to you guys, so I know that me being up late with you guys is actually helping you. All right. So you start by clarifying your vision, and then you move into the second stage. And guys, I'm gonna be super transparent. This second stage is my favorite stage because this stage is the part that most people struggle with, but I find to be the easiest to actually achieve if you're really gonna do what it says, right? If you're really gonna do what it says, right? And it's not as hard as most people think it is. It's just that it's not as natural to you as so many other things. Okay, so we start by clarifying our vision. Okay, let me tell you what we do next. After we clarify our vision, we then cultivate something very, very interesting that most people don't cultivate. All right, and I'm going to use a colloquialism for this because you guys know we can, right? So after you clarify your vision, you cultivate your vim. Okay, now those of you who are UK based, you know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna have to write this again just so it all fits. Cultivate your vim. Okay, now in the UK, that's a new colloquialism that's been used in the last decade, right? Vim is energy. Vim is energy. Vim is the excitement, right? After you clarify your vision, after you see things in a way that you haven't seen them before, after you start to imagine and use imagination, initiate using initiation, and indoctrinate using indoctrination, you then start to cultivate your vim. And this is the reason why you need to be someone who can see clearly, because the clearer you see, the more excited you'll be. Okay, I'm going to say that again. The clearer you see, the more excited you'll be. The more fired up you'll be. The more ecstatic you'll be. The more energized you'll be. Why? Because the first law of thermodynamics scientifically states everything is energy. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. It is only ever transferred. So what is Samuel teaching you to do? In that tug of war between your beliefs and between your history, I'm teaching you to see through your imagination to get your beliefs fired up so your beliefs are so strong they stop pulling history in the same direction as history, and instead they start pulling history into the direction of your future. This is how it works. This is how it works. Guys, if someone's getting a light bulb, let me know in the chat, right? I literally felt like someone just got a light bulb, so that's why I'm saying this. And again, if it's someone on the replay, just let me know in the chat. So you cultivate your vim. That's what you do next. First, you clarify your vision. Oh, I can see clearly now. And then straight after clarifying your vision, you cultivate your vim. Now, I said to you guys, the time is fast spent, so I'm gonna have to just jump into the third step. I can't break down the cultivate your vim as much as I'd like to, but you guys hopefully understand what I'm talking about. You use your vision to develop your vim. You use your vision to enhance your energy. You use your vision to prop up your power. And then you engage with power instead of with powerlessness because you're using your vision to make it happen. All right. Now, here's the last part. And again, for those of you who want a scripture, let me just grab one for you. Proverbs 18:14. Okay. And that's for part 2 to cultivate your vision. Proverbs 18:14. That will be helpful for you guys. All right. So we clarify the vision. We clarify the vision. We cultivate the vim. Now we got all this energy. What do we do with it? Okay. Now we've got all this energy. What do we do with it? If we've clearly seen now, and that's fired us up, it's given us energy, what do we do next? Let me share with you what we do. And this is what I do with a lot of my clients, which literally help them shift their finances from that £3,000 a month, that 36,000 to 48,000 a year, to that 15,000 a month, or in some cases to that whole 980,000 a year, right? In cash flow. How do you get people to produce those kind of results? I'm going to show you how. We literally catapult your values. Okay? Catapult your values. That's how it ends. Whoops. Space is running out here. Okay? We catapult your values. Let me write it under. Let's go. Catapult your values. You see, inside of every single one of us are specific things we believe. I spoke about beliefs earlier. And our specific things we expect. And what we don't understand is all our beliefs and all our expectations are based on our values. There's a great book. Let me plug the book real quick. The book is called The Values Factor by Dr. John DeMartini, right? And in this book, the whole essence of the book is values, what people's values are, what your own values are, how to basically break down, decipher, disseminate values, right? And the reason I'm sharing this with you guys, because I want you to understand something. I want you to understand that your values are in you right now, okay? Your values aren't something that show up on an off day or on an on day or on another day. Your values are with you right now. And if you understand that your values are with you right now, guess what? You should also understand that you have the ability to catapult those values. The only problem you have, which I would say to you, is if you're catapulting values that are not valuable to you, then you'll be catapulting values that instead of throwing you are going to pull you. And this is what I find happen again and again and again. This is why many of my clients, when they first find me, okay, are in a situation where basically they are making subpar returns in terms of their cash flow, and they're saying to themselves, well, how can I make more? How can I be sure? How can I move to a whole new level? You can't move to a whole new level with the same values. Albert Einstein said it best. He said, you cannot solve a problem at the same level of intelligence that the problem was originally created. And Samuel Akan-Wynne says, if you created the problem like that, then you staying like that can ultimately only mean splat. And I want you to understand what I'm saying here. Like, if you created a problem thinking how you think right now, there's nothing you can do to change that. The only way you can change that is by becoming someone else. And how do you become someone else? You follow this process I've shared with you guys today. You recognize that I want to get out of the chaos, I want to get out of the catastrophe, and I want to get into the creation. And for some of you, that means I want to get into the cash. So if you want to get into that cash, just follow the steps I gave you today. Start by clarifying your vision, shift into cultivating your vim, and last but not least, catapult your values, because your values should be of value to you. Samuel Akan-Wynne signing out. Remember, small keys open big doors. If you've got a key takeaway, throw it inside of the chat so I can see that. All right. And yeah, guys, it's late. I was going to take questions. That's why I'm hesitating, but it's late, guys. If you haven't got the book, go get the book. The Cash Flow Kickstart, your guide to mastering cash flow and achieving financial freedom. And you can literally, I love that. Dwayne says, so powerful. I'm grateful I stayed up. Glad you're with us, champ. Glad you got value as well. This is what we do, champ. This is what we do. So guys, yeah, if you haven't got the book, go get the book, The Cash Flow Kickstart. It's your guide to mastering cash flow and achieving financial freedom. Get this book in the hands of someone in order to help them move further, faster in their future and support them as they go forward. Now, with that being said, Samuel Akan-Wynne, love you guys. Good day. God bless. And as I usually say, small keys open big doors. Let's go.